two guards who were cross-dressers, and they were holding a Tupperware event.
Pat Shortt, thanks for joining me on the Mindful podcast.
I'm delighted, Dermot. Great to see you and hear you.
You too. I know you're in Portugal right now.
Yeah,
I was worried I was interrupting a family holiday, but you're just really jammy and got a job over there.
I, d- I was very, very lucky. Yeah, no, lovely company. I'm out doing a show out here. Did it on Wednesday, so flying back tonight. But it was great. Yeah, no, it was all right. I was out here for the week, which was lovely.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice one. I wonder how did you swing that one at home? Like the gig was Wednesday and you're still there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I
Well,
need
it did.
time to decompress. I need
I,
time to come
was-
back to myself.
as I was saying to you earlier on, they told me I could bring my wife, but I decided to bring a sound engineer instead, who wouldn't be as good looking as my wife, but he's great crack.
Yeah, as long as he knows how to spoon in the right direction, you're fine.
I won't follow up on that one.
Well, look, I appreciate your time. The subject is laughter, and actually, it's quite apt because I've been following your movements around Australia and New Zealand on the tour that you've been on with your daughter Faye and the Knuckle
Yeah,
Down tour, and you've been giving me a good laugh because you're walking around with a selfie stick
that's
on,
right.
in zoos. Like, I mean, how cringe can you be in front of your own daughter? How is she still agreeing to hang around with you?
I
Like,
saw so many, I saw so many people commenting like, she must be mortified. She, she,
like selfie sticks were embarrassing when they were actually in like
I know,
2012.
I
Like
know,
you've missed the selfie stick window, if ever there was one.
I know. But the thing is, it actually does film really well, and it gives you a great insight. A great angle and movement, and like the gimbal. Here I am getting all technical now. Dermot. You appreciate it, our film background. The
Is that what
gimbal.
they're calling it? Here comes that bloody gimbal and a selfie, a selfie stick, a
It should
gimbal.
be. It's kind of a thing that the camera it gives you that steady cam feel.
Mm.
Well, the old school gimbal was you just get a selfie stick and hang a briquette off the bottom of it or something, and it works perfectly well. Does look a bit cringy. I think the worst of all was I was outside a hotel. See, look, the problem is here's the bloody problem there. Everyone says you should be doing more online stuff. You should have more. So I hate it. I cringe.
I know.
But every so often I go, oh, jeez, I'll just do this. And I was outside a hotel. We were gigging in some hotel up the coast, and I had the selfie stick out to get a better angle of the venue and everything going, hi, it's Pat here. We're playing tonight, or we played last night, and we're moving on. Something like that.
Mm.
And Faye had been looking out her window, and she said, oh, Jesus, who's the sad bastard below with the selfie stick? Not realizing it was her dad, me. And she zoomed in and went, oh my Jesus. And she filmed me and showed it back to me, and I did look like a knob. And I
Well,
thought,
look,
oh no, this just confirms everything I feel about using these bloody things and doing social media. But you have to do it.
you do, you do. You just have to. I think there's. I always feel like we're trying to override the hard wiring that, particularly as Irish people, we have. Like, if you point a camera on yourself, there's an alarm bell going off, going that they think, you think you're great.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
always
yeah.
say, if anybody in like 1990 started taking pictures of themselves,
Oh,
out on the
yeah.
street, they'd
Vanity,
never live it down,
knob
and
jockey, all
you'd
there's
never go
loads of
into a.
words. Yeah,
I
yeah,
know, yeah. So we keep having to override that part of our
yeah.
brain that's saying to us, "Would you ever just stop?"
Stop for the love of God.
Yeah.
But the younger generation, and I hate even using that term, they have absolutely no filter, no problem whatsoever because they grew up
Mm,
on it. And I see my daughters and my son, not so much my son, but the girls are great. And I love what they do. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I just can't
mm.
do it. I just can't do
I
it. That's
know,
it.
I know, yeah. But look, let's talk about laughter. Your
Okay.
laugh, I think, is probably if there was top three most famous laughs in the country, you would definitely be in there and possibly number one. And
Yeah,
I want to, yeah.
no,
I
it's
mean,
funny because that's,
do
I
you like your
constantly,
laugh? Because sometimes when
well,
people hear themselves laugh, they don't like it.
No, I don't like to hear myself laugh at all. But what happens to me constantly is I'm in a shop or a bar or something,
Mm.
and there's people looking at me, and I know they're looking at me, and then somebody cracks a joke or something, and I laugh, and vump, they're like vultures in on top of me. Go, I knew it was you, but just when I heard you laugh, that was. I get that everywhere, everywhere. Out here in Portugal as well. Getting it, people coming rushing over to get selfies. And they're afraid to because they're not sure it's me or not, but it's the laugh is the giveaway. So you're absolutely right, I know.
Has your laugh always been the same? Because mine has
Yes.
changed over the years. I remember being slagged when I was a teenager for having, my brother used to slag me for having a machine gun laugh. So that was, and I don't think I laugh like that anymore. And now my daughter slags me for laughing like this. And I think maybe it's something that happens when you're a man who of a certain age. She now
Yeah.
says that I laugh like this.
You a silent laugh, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where if it's something that just develops
No,
in all men. Is that what? And as old men will just be laughing like this.
I think you become conscious of your laugh, and I think that's it. I mean, I did become conscious of my laugh
Mm,
when I started working on radio and TV. Obviously, when you're a teenager and all the rest, you never hear yourself really laugh until someone
mm.
records it. And then I've found myself on interviews and radio interviews and listening back to it, going, "Oh Jesus Christ," you know. And you do. I think you kind of become conscious of it. But I kind of have a natural laugh that it's almost a belly laugh that I've no control over it. And it just comes out. You know what I mean?
But I think
That
that's
kind
why
of way.
people love it and why they want to be around it. Because I
Yeah.
think your laugh is so, as you say, it's natural. It's from the depths of you, and it's your personality. That's what
Yeah.
people get
Yeah.
from it. They hear you laugh and they get a sense of you and your sense of joy.
Yes. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I suppose it's true. I mean, it's natural and it's authentic, and I think people
Mm,
appreciate authenticity and honesty in whether it's someone telling a story, comedian telling a story, and how much they actually lay bare their own self, and I think people really appreciate that. And the same is with a laugh. Yeah, that it
mm.
is you. You're not trying to be someone else. You're not trying to be affected, or you're not trying to be Dublin Four or something like that. You know. we, we constantly as country people get slagged off over that. God, geez, you sound very Dublin there with your phone voice or whatever. And
Yeah, yeah.
your laugh the same. I don't know if Dublin people get the same down the country. Maybe they get it with parts of Dublin.
Well, I think the worst thing you could be called when you grow up in the country is you're very Dublin. That
That's
was a
right.
big insult. Like that
Huge.
was if they were gently letting you know that you had to come back online,
That's
back on
right.
track, you know.
Stop the social climbing.
Yeah, yeah.
We all had that friend from down the street. Well, how's things, Pat? Good. And then he goes up to Dublin to look for a flat before he goes to college. He comes back, hi, how are you? And you
Yeah.
say he's only up there one day.
I know, yeah.
I had the funniest ever, and I don't know. I hope he's not listening to this. I was with John Kenny years ago, and we were doing a show in a hotel. And next minute, the chef comes out and goes, "Oh, Jean, how are you? Oh my God, I've not seen you for so long." And he's going on like this. And John's going, "Hi, great. How are you keeping?" "Oh, very good, and all this." So John went off to the loo or something, and I says to your man, I says, "Do you mind me asking, how do you know John?" "Oh, Jean and I, we live, how you say, door to door." And I said, "Next door to each other." That's we grew next door to door. I said to John, "How did you end up living next door to a French fella?" "Oh, jeez," he said, "he went off out to Switzerland training as a chef for 6 months, and he couldn't speak English when he came back." it was it was part of his chefing image that really worked.
Yeah.
So what he was saying is he grew up in Hospital, County Limerick, next door to John. I thought it was the funniest ever. Anyway, I deviated.
No, but I think everybody knows that. I had
Yeah.
friends, the friends who went on J1s and
Yes.
came back speaking like they were in the mafia. Like they were,
Yeah.
hey, how you doing? Yeah, I was over in New York for,
Yeah.
for 3 months. I was working in the bar. What are you gonna do about it? Well, look, I think our laugh generally. a lot of it is genetic. Do you think you inherited your laugh and your sense of humor from any one particular family member? Was it a parent, grandparent?
I don't know. Maybe me dad. My dad always had a good sense of humor, and my memory is my grandfather. My grandfather would have grown up in a big family of boys. And generally speaking, when you have a bunch of lads around, it's messing, caffling,
Mm,
acting the maggot, do you know, and not taking it. Now, my dad was an only child, but I think he inherited that kind of sense of humour from his dad. And then I grew up in a family with 8 boys and 4 girls. So again, the messing, the slagging, it's constant, you know.
yeah.
So I think that sense of humour would have come from there.
Where did you come in the family in the number of kids? What was your placing?
There was 4 younger than me.
Okay.
So you work it out. The no, it's a question everyone asks me, and to this day, I've never done the
Mm.
figures. Every time I'm asked, I'm like a rabbit in the headlights, going, let me see. And I should know that. There's 4 younger. I was number 5 from the bottom.
Yeah, because a lot of the time
Five,
it's the
five,
youngest who ends up being the funniest because they kind of have to fight for attention a little bit more. But I guess if there's 12 of you in the house, then everybody's fighting for attention.
yeah. I think so. But then again, when you have a big family like that, the older gang are gone to college or something. They're gone away.
Mm,
So while it's like I grew up in a family of 12, I really didn't. I maybe grew up in a family of 8, that
yeah.
kind of way.
Yeah, it was the same for me. I'm,
And the others will come back.
yeah.
Mm,
It was my memory of being at home most of the time was just me and the brother next to me because people were away at college and had moved on. So in a way, I was
yeah,
part of a big family and a small family at the same time.
that's exactly what it's like. And even as you get older, even nowadays, there's 3 brothers I'd hang around with, and I'd stay in their house, and we'd meet each other. We'd do
Mm,
bike trips. We'd go off for weekends and that. But the other gang are all we wouldn't, and very rarely meet up because it's an age gap, and they've all grown up kids, and they're
mm,
living away somewhere else, and it doesn't work out.
yeah. Um, just thinking about the career that you've had, from the late 80s doing Unbelievables with John right up until now and the different kinds of performances that you've done. Do you do you get a sense that the humor has changed at all over the years? That where your audience is laughing at different things in 1990 than they are now, or has it been consistent?
I think it's consistent. Um, I find my son, the youngest in my family, is 21, and his friends will all have the same sense of humor as I had when I was 21.
Mm,
Um, the look at the daftness and the silliness. And I suppose a lot of the humor I work on is not gag driven or driven. It's driven by characters, and
yeah.
it's driven by, I develop a character. Those characters are still out there, and people laugh at the daftness and the silliness of what those people, and it's a lot of it is about human behavior and stuff like that, and that hasn't changed. Somebody trying to get up the ladder, somebody trying to do something. The relationship between a mother and a son, the relationship between a father and a daughter, whatever, they'll still be the same. The embarrassments, the awkwardnesses, etc., etc.,
Mm,
and that's all family life, isn't it? I think we used to look at. I remember myself and John often, people said to us like, what we're doing is very local and very, and what I do very, a lot about relationships. And we used to use the analogy of Coronation Street, a street in Manchester, in England, where most of us have never ever been,
mm,
and yet glued to it every week because it's about the relationships, the storylines, and about the relationships between a married couple living together, fighting or whatever, or the scene down in the pub or in the shop, the chat between the shop. That happens in Thurles, that happens in Castlecollin, County Limerick. It happens
mm.
everywhere. And that's why we can identify with the most parochial, not the global.
Yeah.
So, sorry, going back to it, sense of humor is the same.
Yeah. Because sometimes I wonder, like I talk about the guy who used to live across the road from me, and when I opened my curtains in the morning as a kid, I would see him leaning on the gate, and that's pretty much all he did all day. And those kinds of characters that you'd see around, I wonder, are they as plentiful? Is there as enough of those characters to mine still? Have we become too sophisticated or too boring? Are those characters still out there for you to latch
No.
onto?
Oh, they're definitely there. I mean, I see it in my son's friends, from school.
Really?
And each one of them is a character. Yeah, each one of them is a character. One lad, all he wants to do is talk about politics. And he'd nearly, because I'm an adult in the room, he'd come over to me, what do you think of that in the Dáil during the week? Jeez, it was awful carry on, wasn't it? Or something. And I wouldn't have a clue what he's talking about. But to him, I'm an adult, I should know everything about politics, and he'll talk about it. And he's done his homework. And he's very eager to be chatting about those, and that's a great
Mm.
character trait. They're just, the real characters, like, and that's just the little bunch of guys that I know that are of a young age and are coming up. There's characters in each one of them. There'll be characters that you can see it in kids, in primary school children, with the way they walk, like their father or something. The way they,
Yeah.
the way they lean over a fence or a hurley or whatever it is. You can see it, and it doesn't change, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And what we do in comedies, we enlarge that.
Mm.
People would say like, ah, jeez, I don't know. What we do is we see those little things and we make them bigger, and people then can see those things in themselves or the people around them, and that's what makes them laugh then, because they
Yeah.
identify with it.
Well, I think that's
And
like
that's the
so.
craft of what we.
Yeah, but the magic that you have brought to all the characters that you've played by yourself and with John, you know, it has obviously been so powerful because people remember all your sketches and they remember so many wonderful details of it. Um, do you think that when you started doing more serious character acting, that it actually gave you more of an appreciation of the craft that you had been doing through comedy? That it wasn't
Yeah,
not sometimes when we look at comedy characters, you think, oh, it's just a bit of crack. But actually, what you were doing was really sophisticated. And I guess when you play a serious character, you realize, Jesus, I've been doing this for decades and I never realized. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does make sense. I mean, people underestimate comedians all the time,
Mm.
because it makes you laugh and it's fun. But when you see, especially character-based comedians, when because it takes a lot to think about the character, then create it, reflect it, and then put it back out to the audience, and make them laugh. It's a big, big job. Like, that's why a lot of straight actors are terrified of comedy, because they appreciate the work that we do as comedians, whatever. And then when you go to I mean, I still find so I always kind of go back to the character of Josie in Garage, that film, because it's quite
Mm.
it was a very serious role. But yet it was a character. And myself and Lenny worked a lot on the physicality of the character. And that's why Lenny picked me for the role, because he could see that the work that comedians and performers like myself put into developing a character and then pushing it out so effortlessly to the audience, when it's not. It's a bigger job than that. So we worked a lot on the physicality of that character and how he walked and all those things that portrayed the
Mm.
character and gave the audience empathy towards him as well before he opened his mouth. You know,
Yeah.
and that's important, and that's what myself and John, and that's what I do, and that's what Faye does to a large degree, working with me at the moment in her characterizations. That it could be a flick of the wrist, it could be a throw of the hip or a way, a waddle or whatever, and suddenly the audience see with the costume and everything, the person, they know what's coming before you open your mouth, and that's a big, big thing to do, to be able to do that.
Mm.
And I did find that transition of that into us, although albeit I didn't have the confidence in myself to understand it at first, but I do now. How that what would you call process goes into straight character, and drama. Um, Yet I was terrified of straight drama. It was a huge amount of work. I mean,
Mm.
there's a lot goes into comedy, but there's a huge amount goes into being a straight actor as well, and the process and finding the character and
Mm.
working on it. It's amazing when you do it and get it.
Killian Murphy on this podcast about flow state. Do you get a sense that you get into flow when you're performing, when you're in character, that you go into this kind of different space?
Yes, I think you do finally get there when you get confident with your character and everything, especially if you're doing a play because it's running. It's not so I don't
Mm.
not so much with a film. I think maybe with a film you find the character and you get into the flow of the character. Yet the dialogue's different every time. But when you're doing a play and you're doing the same shit thing every night, you get into a groove with your character and your everything about it. And I remember when I went to art college many years ago, and we had a lecturer there who said he thought that when you were painting and you kind of just wandered off in your mind, wandering, thinking about other things, and you're still painting, that was the purest form of art that you were doing. And if you could apply that to theatre, I mean, how many times have I been on stage when I'm acting away, words are coming out of my mouth, and I'm thinking, did I ring my wife to say we go for dinner later on? Or and where do we say we go? And then you go, oh Jesus, I'm in front of an audience. That to me is a good state to be in. That state.
It's a fine line,
And
though,
it's
isn't
and
it?
it's like you're not just getting used.
Yeah,
It is.
it's a fine line between sort of getting out of your own way and disappearing down the road altogether.
Being in the bar before the show's over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, it is a fine line. I was just about to get to that of being bored out of your mind. You're just so used to the dialogue and the play. But the fact that your body is still acting and moving and you're doing everything right, that's
Yeah,
interesting, I think. You
yeah, it
know,
is
it's not
amazing,
like
isn't
you've
it?
just stopped and your jaw drops and you're kind of just looking off to one side. You're still moving around the stage, interacting with the other cast and responding in time to them. Yet you're
Yeah.
thinking about the curry.
Yeah. Who is the first person that you really remember making laugh? Was there anyone in particular?
Whoa. Oh my God. No, no. That's the problem with a big family. You know, I must have made someone laugh at some stage
Mm.
in the house. I kind of fell into comedy by accident, really did with John Kenny. I was a saxophone player, and John asked me to come. I played a gig with John when I was before I left school. I'd met him in Thurles. He was a friend of my brother's, and we'd had a bit of a jam. And he said, "Look, when you're in Limerick in our college, come up and see me in Costello's. Remember Costello's bar in Limerick?
Yeah.
So we used to gig upstairs. John gigged up. That's where I met John and started working with him. He was doing a residency upstairs on a Wednesday night. So I came down and brought the sax, and he's come up and played with me, you know, on the tune in front of the audience. And sure, I was mortified. Like, it was one thing having a jam session in a pub with my mates and all that kind of stuff, but this was in front of an audience that I'd never seen before. And I kind of was very shy. And then I came back up the next Wednesday, and it eventually moved from me just playing a saxophone to being down to me underpants running around the pub pretending we were on a beach in Kilkee. And we were playing Summertime. And that was a fair leap, Dermot, you know, in the space of 3 weeks.
Well, it's kind of like
Uh,
what Billy
from
Connolly this when he described the emergence of his career, that the bits between the pieces
yeah,
of music got longer and longer and longer until the music disappeared altogether, and it was just
yeah.
the funny pieces in between.
Well, that was John Kenny's career. Like
Mm.
he was already established before I met him, but he started off. He was in a band called Gimmick, and he joined a theatre company in Montinur. And then to make a living, he started playing guitar because he was a great singer, and he picked up the guitar and he learnt it. And he started doing gigs in pubs in Limerick and Dublin and around the country. And like that, his banter between the songs was
Mm.
hilarious, and it got bigger, and he got a reputation for it. And eventually, the guitar went down, and he was more stand up, still playing an odd song or two, and that's where I joined him. He had already a TV career and everything else. But anyway, that's exactly how it happened. And my career kind of started the same in comedy because I started doing not just playing a tune with John, but actually performing as well. So I never set out to be a comedian. I remember when John got sick, I was all like we'd worked together for 16 years.
Mm.
but I'd never performed with anyone else, only John. So for me to start a solo career was like someone starting out from scratch, and I was terrified, even though I had this huge career in the public
Yeah.
eye and were selling out venues for years. I was terrified standing up on my own and running a show on my own,
Mm.
But
Funny,
you
isn't
got
it?
there.
Yeah. Well, it's a whole
Yeah,
other thing. It's not a million miles from me leaving Dermot and Dave and trying to work out who
yeah,
you are when your best friend
yes,
isn't standing across from you, you know?
yeah.
Because
No, it's true, and you don't have the crutch, and you don't have. Oh, listen, if this goes bad, he'll take over.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But I realized that one of the big things for me was I had 20 years of being a reactor. So Dave would say something, I would react.
Yes.
And once then you shift the dynamic where now you're the instigator and you've a totally different hat on. Even
Mm,
though it looks like you're doing the same thing, your perspective is has shifted. It's a
mm.
weird one.
Yeah, it is. But again, it's great. It's like pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and
Mm,
when you do that, you create your best work. So that's
yeah.
why I'm always one to stick a challenge out and do something different. Like next week.
Yeah, well, I love that, and I love that. One of the things I really admire about you, you're
Mm.
always testing the limits. And for me, my relationship with performing has changed over the years in terms of, I guess, me in my early days of stand-up was always like a white knuckle ride. It was like an extreme sport, and it was like, please don't let the audience hate me. I'd survive it, have a rake of pints, and then sort of get butterflies in my stomach about the next time I had to do it. And that's kind of my relationship with stand up, particularly in the early years. Um, but in more recent times, it took me a long time to appreciate that I was bringing something to the audience, that I had a talent to help people to feel better. And that's not saying I'm great, but it just is. Performers have that. They can help people to feel happier or
Yeah.
better. Do you have an appreciation, more of an appreciation these days for the power of your laugh, the power of your laughter and your comedy and your talents to send an audience home feeling better than they did when they arrived?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it is the end goal every night, isn't it? I mean, you
Mm.
want to send them out the door roaring laughing because my attitude is always if they go out the door roaring laughing, I'll probably have a gig here next year, so I still have a career. If they're not happy, they might not come back, and I don't know if I'll have work again. So it's kind of a different motive in some respects. But I do always, yeah. No, I think it's something took me a long time to appreciate, Dermot. That
Yeah.
a bit like you, the fear was kind of overriding, and the pure joy of getting off the stage without dying was overrode everything, and you just went away ecstatic. And then the next night you're going, "Oh Jesus, Jesus!" Now, and I still feel like that on an international tour because there's so many
Mm.
factors that I don't know. Will they understand me? Will they understand the style of humor, the characterization? I don't want to compromise my character just because I'm in Australia or New Zealand. So I do have that fear out there that I don't at home because I know they're going to understand me at home. And I know that I can really push the character and get more out of it and play on the audience and push the buttons with them, which is so much fun for me then.
Yeah.
Whereas in Australia, it's pure fear and survival.
Good. I'm glad
I'm
to
going
know I'm
back.
not the only one. I'm doing a show
No.
out there in November in
Yeah.
Sydney, and it's such a punt in the dark. I don't know
Ah,
if it'll
they'll love
work at
you.
all, but I'll
Yeah.
I'll be very excited about doing it. I can't ever imagine you dying on your hole, though. I mean, do you have ones? I think most performers have certain nights that live in the dark recesses of their mind that come out at two
No,
o'clock in the morning. You think, oh
I'll
Jesus.
go straight to the bar after this conversation
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
reveal my ones. See what you done to Pat Shortt. You had him drinking at 11 in the morning.
You'll
There
be
was
on the
two.
super Bach by lunchtime.
There was two very memorable ones that I
Mm.
had. One was in St. John's Cathedral or church in Listowel. And Joe was down there. Myself and John Kenny were trying out a new show, new material. And we had these two characters, which on paper were hilarious. Two guards who were cross dressers, and they were holding a Tupperware event. So we were dressed up in wigs and jumpsuits, paisley jumpsuits, our costume designer made for us. We were talking about our day in the barracks while preparing the Tupperware for sale to the women coming. There wasn't one laugh. There was dying. The two of us. I think when we left the stage, we both hugged each other for a minute. We pure like wounded like badgers or something. I don't know. So anyway, that was one, and we
How was
rewrote.
that? Sorry. How when you're just describing the sketch, it sounds like one of the funniest things you've ever done. How was it not funny?
I think it was maybe a bit ahead of itself for the audience.
Yeah, maybe there was the church in Listowel was the problem, not the comedy.
All our ones in the audience and the two of us. Oh, I'll never forget it. Oh, it kind of scarred me for life. And then there was another time we were doing. Do you know that Channel 5 in London?
Mm.
Or it's on TV over in England. It was just started that week. Channel 5. They only opened, and they had a show called Five at Five, which was five presenters. A mad idea because there's too many presenters, like five presenters presenting a show at 5 o'clock in the evening. And we had a video out with Sony at the time, and we were doing a bit of a tour in the UK of shows, but also publicity for the video. And they had us booked to come on to that show. And do you know that scene in the video? To the video where I'm in a brown coat, and John Kenny comes in rushing down through. It's shot in the UL in Limerick. And John Kenny's going, I say, sorry, who are you now? And he's John Kenny, Pat Shock, make up your mind which one of you are now. You know, one of them. And it's that scene. And the producer of the show, we were just on to do an interview. And he said, that's the funniest thing I've seen. He said, could you do it here? And we were like, what? And I learned my lesson, never again, never, ever, ever again do acting like this. He said, well, look, I'll give you a headset as a floor manager. And when John comes down through the crowd, you stop him and go, hello, who are you now? And go through the whole. I was like, this mightn't work. No, it'll be brilliant. It'll be brilliant. So we did it interrupting the show live on air. And the audience thought we were a real floor manager and a fella having a row. And nobody laughed. They were all sitting there in fear of their life. And we were going through it. And there was one fella, I remember he's a big, huge black guy in the audience, buckled over laughing. He was the only person. He was the only person. And I don't know, was it nervous or did he just think this is mental? And we finished the piece and it seemed to go on forever and ever on live television. And then the presenter, he's a famous presenter over, and I can't remember his name. He said, come over here, the two of you. This is John Kenny and Pat Shortt, a new wave of Irish comedy. So new. Nobody finds it funny.
Oh,
Oh my
I know
God.
that feeling of, when
It's taken out of
you've
context.
yeah, but when you start to commit to a sketch
Yeah.
or a character bit and you can't bail out of it. So you go,
And it's
even
not
though
working.
this is horrendous for everyone involved, including me, I have to keep going. We have to all endure this until I get to the end of my bit. Okay.
Well, the two transvestite Tupperware ladies was something similar to that. Tupperware Gardaí.
I'd say there was
Oh.
an extra bit of holy water sprinkled around the church in Listowel after that.
Oh, mother of God! We two paisley jumpsuits, one yellow and one light green, like full, like we were like a glam rock band, the two of us with big curly wigs.
Uh,
Oh, stop it! Too much.
do you think that sometimes if people meet you and you're not laughing and being the Pat Short that they know, do they get disappointed? Like if you're just a man in the hardware shop, like picking out a
You'd,
spade,
you'd have to
like
ask them. Yeah, I know.
you know.
Well, you see, they'd think it's hilarious anyway. The fact that look at him with
Yeah.
a spade. Bad shot. Oh, he had a spade. I'd say, oh, look, he'll probably use it in his next sketch. You always get that one. You can use this one now.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's my phone there. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah, all that carry on. I don't know. I think, yeah, look, people do always expect you to be 100%. And they expect
Yeah.
to get what they see on the television. They always do,
Mm.
so
Is there any one sketch or joke or bit that you've done over the years that just people keep saying to you, listen, I just have to say that scene in Killinascully or that unbelievable
yeah.
sketch or what is there one is there a bit that or you and Father Ted what's the thing that people keep reminding you of if there is one?
I think the sweet shop is one.
Yeah, that's
And
mine. That's the one I think of.
is it? Yeah, that's
This
funny.
is
I
the
mean,
one of dim, tin of
yeah,
dim,
two of
dim
them and
ones.
one. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's been following us around in a lovely way. It's fantastic. I mean, I have to. I told this story, but it's a true story, and it reminded me of it in Australia this time around. I was touring Australia 10 years ago doing the show, and
Mm.
in Perth, I think it was, in the Astor Theatre. I was backstage and the promoters came in and said, you have to go out the front, come out front. I said, I can't. It's the interval. He said, there's about 300 paddies down the front, langers, cans of beer. And there's a poor young one in the merchandise stall and with hats and t-shirts of Pat Short and everything. And they're all going, if I had one of them and one of them, how much would you? She's there going, that'd be $30 and another $30. And 300 people roared laughing. And some fella would go off again. But what if I had two of them and one of them? It went on for the full interval. The poor girl was mithered, sold nothing. And all the paddies thinking this is the funniest thing ever. And it was funny in fairness. But
Oh,
yeah, it's a great one. It keeps popping up. Like somebody finds it for the first time. I remember some English boxer found it for the first time, like a world champion boxer guy. I can't remember his name. It's terrible. I shouldn't be saying it, but he put it up and suddenly it went viral again. Thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Just one of these type of things.
well, I think because it harked back to that the old sweet shop. I mean, it's just dripping in nostalgia. We all, particularly if
Yeah,
you grew up in the country, or even
yeah.
I'm sure it was the same if you grew up in the city in Dublin, there was that shop that you went in when penny sweets held that power over us, when they were valuable, you
And there's
know.
always, or there's a young fella in front of you, and you just want to get in and out, and it's the biggest purchase of his life.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's only got so much, and he's going, I want to get the most out of this. If I was to have two of them and one of them, how would I get out of this? And someone told me they actually got caught behind the young fella only last week doing that in the shop in Castleconnell, George's. And the money,
Amazing.
they were pointing at things and having to think about it.
Uh, well, look, I'm so grateful to you for giving me your time, particularly when you're over in Portugal. I do have one favor to ask you,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
You mentioned that you play the saxophone.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
my wife, years ago, like back in the mid noughties, decided she wanted to play the saxophone. I got her a saxophone. It didn't last. I think she did two lessons, whatever. So, but recently I've uncovered this saxophone and I'm obsessed with it. And I want to know, is it good, the fact that
Oh,
I can
no.
get a
You got
sound out? All I can do is get a sound out of it, and you can tell me, do I have potential? Do I
Go
have
on, go
promise?
on.
Hang on.
Can I stop you there?
Wait, I was better at it this morning. Hang on.
You.
It doesn't seem to change note. It just is stuck on the
Oh,
same one.
okay, there's a couple of problems. I'm just looking at you the way you're holding your head back there. You're going back too far. You might even hurt yourself. But the other thing about an alto saxophone, that's an alto saxophone. You do blow
Oh
up into
yeah.
a reed. Tenor saxophone, you blow down into it. So you're doing the right thing, but you're probably a bit too tight on the mouthpiece. So you're not letting the reed do its job. So just relax.
You know when he's in cartoons when they step on a cat's tail? That's what it
Yes.
sounds like. No, I think I'll leave it to the
You,
professionals like Pat
you're
Short.
You're under a bit of pressure there, that's all.
No more than the saxophone, in fairness,
I
Pat.
know.
Look, I just want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your laughter because
Oh,
it's
thank you.
it's still a beautiful currency. It's still a beautiful thing
Mm.
that courses through, particularly Irish people. You know what you've done over the years by yourself and with John. God rest him. I'm sure you miss him very
Yeah.
much since he passed
Yes,
away
yes,
last
yeah.
year. It's still in the ether. It's actually in the Irish DNA now,
Mm.
So I hope you appreciate at times,
Oh, thank you very much.
the difference you've made and the laughter
Mm.
you've given everybody.
Well, listen, I'm very proud of it, and I'm really enjoying working with Faye at the moment and
Mm.
finding a whole new section. Look at stage me. Can I turn the air conditioning on now?
Yeah.
See, the hair and everything. Just for sound reasons, I'm being very professional there, but I switched it off. I'm dripping here in Portugal at the moment.
Okay. Well, before you pass out, I appreciate you going the extra mile for us and not using the aircon for the whole interview. Thanks, Pat. Absolute pleasure, and I hope people get to see your play and they get to see. Will yourself and Faye, is that the end of the Knuckle Down tour? Will there be more? Where can
Now
people see you?
we're starting a new tour. I think we're starting in Kilmallock in the first weekend in October, and we're going all over the country with a brand new show. So we're getting down to writing it now. Once I get this play under the belt,
Mm,
we'll be scribbling for the next few months and have a whole new show opening for the autumn, which will be great. Looking forward to it.
amazing. You're so man.
Yeah,
Uh,
nice.
Thanks so much, Pat. Great to talk to you. See you, Pat. Thanks, man.
Good luck, Dermot. Bye.